Mics are hot.
Really?
Hmm. Don't judge me.
I have a button that mutes them, just saying.
Well, fancy buttons. Everyone's hearing this, by the way.
So,
Stop.
John, just tell me when we're live, okay? I don't want people.
What? I can't
I'm seeing.
I can't tell if we're live yet.
Well, I'm seeing comments. I'm just thinking that might indicate.
Shh. I think they can see us.
John, earlier you started a word that started with shh. What was the rest of that word? Shh.
What? No, that was a secret.
Wife and other
I
room
can't take
going.
the chance that they'll find out.
This is a bit. We're doing a bit. Babe, thank you for warning us, but we're doing a bit, okay? I'm going to go back to it, okay? Was it shiplap? Were you trying to say shiplap, John?
I don't even know what word that is. You know what? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Damage Report Lockdown Edition. Most of you might already know if you've been watching live, but Brett's here. Hey, Brett, how's it going?
Oh my God, it's so good. Thank you to the person who commented butt ear lick. Not the worst.
They burned you, man. I don't know how you come back from that.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took so long into my life. I bet I was 22 before my friend Brad called me Ehrlich my nuts.
Okay, jeez.
Morning,
and it's stuck
everybody.
ever since. So by the way, okay, I love that people are like, we can only hear you. I know.
My wife came in and was like, guys, we can hear you. Your mics are hot. I was like, this is a bit, babe. This is a bit.
Yeah.
I never call her babe. I've only called her babe, by the way, during coronavirus Skypes.
Yeah,
and
why is that?
Zoom Hangouts. I don't know.
Okay, well, that's weird. It's a symptom. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. We've got more bits for you, some of them even news related. Through the course of this hour, we're going to be talking about the Captain Crozier, who was dismissed from his command. We've got a couple of different doctors who've been going on Fox News and sort of forcing them to confront inconvenient truths. So that should be fun. We've got positive dog news, as well as one of the cutest videos of old people I've seen in quite some time, and the garbage people of the week, as well as a story that we have been punting every day this week. Hopefully we'll get to it. I don't even want to say what it is because I'm a little bit worried we might have to punt it again.
I just want to tease. You're going to hate where I first saw that happy story that we're going to do later on about the game people are playing. You're going to hate where I saw that first.
Oh no.
It's
going to make me feel like, person. Oh no.
So sit tight.
I have a prediction. We'll see.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
We'll see here.
In addition, I do want to say Happy Half Hour is going to air for members and on the TYT live stream this today. And it's a viral video film school takeover again. This is crazy online communities. You're going to see a throwback episode I did probably 8 years ago when Obama made it slightly harder for people to buy dipping tobacco, chewing tobacco. And it's one of my favorite episodes I ever did in my life. It's a lot of people saying, "Oh, her Obama," with like dip. Obviously it hasn't affected their ability to get it. So good.
Oh my God. Kimberly, thank you for your one-up that you've given us on Super Chat, and Dave says, "Yay, the terrible twins." By the way, really fast. Earlier this week, JR was on, and we did straight on and side shots to track the progress of our quarantine beards, and Brett's doing really well. So I've already seen one person who said, "Brett beard is better than yours, John. Sorry, dude." Which I hadn't said anything yet. Why did you have to say that at all? And then Mama Alaska says, "Poor Johnny Pie needs to shave his cheeks. That beard is looking awful. Rug is going to grow up to underneath your eyeballs."
I love it.
Okay, I'll trim down a little bit, but I don't think...
Oh, you did? See, I don't do that.
I'm not even growing it yet. Everybody relax.
Wife appeared with scissors when I was sitting in this chair and was just like, "Stick your lip out," and just like something was bothering her.
Uh-huh.
Also, the problem is it's not out and down, which I think is its own problem. Right now, it's just straight out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. JR's got some tips on that. His is grown in pretty well. Okay, with that, everybody, please hit the like button if you haven't already done so. I would like to see that if we can get a record on likes on one of our live shows. And Miss Callie says sexy hot Friday sandwich. I think
So
is that both of us?
who's
I don't
who's
know.
the meat? I believe this is
I don't
Brett's
want
the
to. I
bread.
don't want to know. This is a news thing. Anyway,
I like your beard a lot.
thank you. I
Just
think
deal
yours
with
is
that.
looking very thick and academic almost. Like I can imagine a professor having your beard.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all the beard talk we have for now because we got a lot of stories we got to get to. So why don't we jump right into that? Making sure this is all ready. A little bit worried about that. Okay. In news that I find incredibly frustrating, Captain Brett Crozier, who commands the Roosevelt, an aircraft carrier with a crew of nearly 5,000, was relieved of his command on Thursday, but he will keep his rank and remain in the Navy. If this story is totally new to you, you might wonder, why is this frustrating and why did he lose his command? Well, there's a reason, and it's related to coronavirus. So the ship, which was operating in the Pacific, pulled into port in Guam last week, several days after multiple crew members tested positive for the virus. By Wednesday, there were 93 positive test results, and more than 1,000 people were taken off the carrier and placed into isolation. So at that point, Captain Brett Crozier wanted to sound the alarm because he felt like his soldiers that they weren't being helped out by the federal government. It wasn't being taken seriously. And the likely outcome of this would be that more people would become infected and he would potentially begin to lose soldiers. And so at that time, he sort of sounded the call for help in a letter. I'm just going to read you a couple of little excerpts from it. There is quite a bit if you'd like to find the full 4-page letter. He said at the time, "This will require a political solution, but it is the right thing to do. We are not at war. Sailors do not need to die. If we do not act now, we are failing to properly take care of our most trusted asset, our sailors. The spread of the disease is ongoing and accelerating." He asked for compliant quarantine rooms on shore in Guam for his entire crew as soon as possible. And he also said removing the majority of personnel from a deployed U.S. nuclear aircraft carrier and isolating them for 2 weeks may seem like an extraordinary measure. This is a necessary risk. And when he says that, he means that because the risk is that he will start to lose sailors. And we find out now he is kaput. So, Brett, we're going to have a little bit more details on that. I didn't see this story going in that direction.
Kaput. By kaput, I mean
Career-wise.
Career-wise.
He's alive.
He's alive. His
Yes.
career is not necessarily kaput. He was not, from what I saw, he was not demoted or anything. He was just brought. He lost his command. So
Yes.
he eventually may be reassigned. But it's just one of those things that's very, very frustrating. And I know that the people in charge are saying things like, he's a really great guy, really like him, I know he was just looking out for his sailors, but we have to remove him for not going through the chain of command. There's a couple possible reads on that. One is potentially that the person in charge of the Navy did not want to do this and was willing to just kind of, respond because, in the movies about this, they do end up demoting whoever does it, maybe, but the audience really wants that person to get the medal and be rewarded. And it's strange that this guy was sent off his ship when his job is to keep his soldiers and do a job that involves protecting his soldiers, and he did that, and he's now losing his job for it.
Exactly. And I saw in stories that have been tweeted out about this, I saw presumably Trump supporters attacking him for losing his mind. Why is he freaking out? Are you supposed to go with the chain of command? Do any of them, absent the fact that he was being critical, not even directly of Trump, but being critical sort of the response, the idea that they in normal times would be attacking a commanding officer for advocating for the lives of members of the U.S. Armed Forces, that, man, they can be twisted into very weird positions.
In this time where we're trying to figure out technological solutions for problems that we have trying to broadcast our shows, there's always the default settings that you have to override.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's default setting in this who supports Trump is just keep supporting Trump. Whatever the situation, whatever is happening doesn't really matter. Me being consistent in my logic and advocacy for policy or doesn't matter. It's just support Trump at all costs, which exposes all of their shortcomings as Trump's own policy angles change and his treatment of the crisis changes over time. They end up contradicting themselves instead of saying, listen, we should be looking out for everyone in America, and people who aren't doing that, we should revile. Instead, it exposes that when Trump is looking out for everyone in America, we like it. When he's not looking out for people in America, we like it. Whenever anyone points out his inconsistencies, we hate them. So we're being consistent.
Yes. By the way, I'm seeing in the chat that people are taking issue with the fact that we'd refer to them as soldiers as opposed to sailors. There was no disrespect intended in that. The entire point, the entire reason that we're doing this story at all is because we care about their lives, and we care about commanding officers of theirs who are advocating for their lives to not be not receive any sort of strike back for that. Now, really fast, before we get into a little bit more of what Brett was alluding to, I do want to play one interesting turn that this has taken. So apparently, as the captain was departing the vessel, here's video of what was happening. Okay, so look, I don't know what percentage of the entire crew that is, but clearly a very significant number of the people whose lives he was trying to save are not happy to see him go. And,
no.
And I think that that's important that people. What's that?
No, that was a mutiny, John. That was a fiery, angry mutiny of sailors who couldn't handle this man. That's why they were clapping.
Exactly.
Clapping out the demon that had possessed the ship.
Yeah.
They wanted him off.
Yeah, and by the way, some of the things I was saying about the Trump supporters who were attacking him was in response to that video. So, like, in response to a video that demonstrates that the soldiers do not appear to believe that this was a good move on the part of, the sailors, who do not believe that this was a good move on the part of the Navy, like, to say, no, I know better. He sucks. He was horrible. He was traitorous. That's a really weird position. But again, when you have one person who you are loyal to when it's Donald Trump, all of these other groups and individuals that you supposedly had reverence for before, supporting the troops and stuff like that, that's just gone. That's all contingent. It's contingent on them being supportive of Donald Trump in his eyes.
Yeah, I remember. It reminds me of when they went after the Gold Star father for basically, back during the campaign. So that ship sailed. Sorry, the metaphor, a long time ago.
Exactly. And by the way, the acting secretary of the Navy, I just want to read one or two of these quotes. So, praised Crozier, but said he had concluded that the captain, quote, allowed the complexity of the challenge of the COVID breakout on the ship to overwhelm his ability to act professionally. Wow. He says, I have no doubt in my mind that Crozier did what he thought was in the best interest of the safety and well-being of his crew. Unfortunately, he did the opposite. It unnecessarily raised the alarm of the families of our sailors and Marines with no plans to address those concerns. He says the decision was his alone.
Sure it was.
I don't think that's true.
But he was unnecessarily raised the alarm of the families of our sailors is a ridiculous way to put it, without a plan of action in place. Well, he couldn't get a plan of action from you, and so that's why he raised the alarm.
Yeah.
Because meanwhile, 100 sailors were getting sick from this, confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for those people who were attacking him, like, you remember supposedly what they were so frustrated about when it comes to Benghazi, which was like, our people are there, they're in danger, and the people who were supposed to safeguard them didn't take it seriously, and that's why lives were lost. And so a few lives were lost there. And now it's like, this guy's unnecessarily freaking out because some sailors might die. Like, man, we've come a long way in just a few years. Anyway, Canadian Girl sent in a super chat saying, Trump talked about putting Canadians out, even though Canadian nurses... Troops talked about putting troops at border. Sorry, I couldn't see the full. Talked about putting troops at border to keep Canadians out, even though Canadian nurses work in the USA. Canadians want Trudeau to react to Trump telling 3M to stop sending masks to Canada. And Ak says, I have that same exact secret lab chair and love it. Here's $10 for going off topic. LOL. Thank you. I think he's referring to your wife's gaming chair.
Yep, that was a present to her. So I did select that. You and I are the same person. because we selected that chair.
Exactly. Wow,
that's a good one.
That focus is close. Name withheld says everyone knows to stop the ship. You just need to grab a train.
I'm sorry, I have my brother's old chair.
Yeah. Are you hoping that there will be more super chats if we just go through all the chairs we have?
Yeah.
F. Harby, thank you for your super chat as well.
Hey, you've been great.
You have. Okay, with that, why don't we move on to our next topic? Fox News is in the second or third version of their coverage of the coronavirus, and they are still very much defensive of Donald Trump and his government's response, which is why it is awesome when they bring on guests, experts, doctors, who are willing and able to, at least in this one appearance they'll get, because there might not be future ones, reveal some inconvenient truths to the Fox News audience. Here is Dr. Rishi Desai recently on Fox News.
Hear every night is that there are millions of tests available, and yet we don't have that pinprick blood test that you can just sort of get, at your local doctor and know in 15 minutes. But they're working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it. They should have been working on it for months. So the fact is, we knew about this from the WHO when? December 31st, 2019. So last year, we knew about this. We knew coronavirus is coming. We knew it was a respiratory disease. We knew it was person to person. Why is it that it's this week that the FDA finally approved these kind of new Abbott lab testing, which, by the way, is one test at a time? It's a great test, but it's one test at a time. It's different than the labs that are doing mass testing, right? So this is a wonderful test, don't get me wrong, but it's one test per 15 minutes. That's wonderful, but it's not the same volume that you really need. This is better for kind of outpatient clinics and things like that. We needed this months ago. You look at South Korea and the U.S. had their first official confirmed case on the same date, January 19th. That means since January 19th, you look at what South Korea did and what we did. Their population is 1/6 of ours. Look at the cases they have. Look at the mortality they have. It's a trifle compared to what we're dealing with right now because we've had a very weak response and they had a really strong response.
Doctor, thank you. Very interesting to talk to you, Dr. Desai. Hope you'll come back.
Okay, so a lot of people I saw in responding to that were saying that her pause where he stopped talking and she was her listening to someone who's probably saying dump out. Now, as a person who gets in the ear of people who are on camera, Brett, what do you think was happening there?
Oh, absolutely that. Also in the back of her mind was we thought that you would be an easy interview because there's cartoon germs behind you. We thought this would be much like our coverage has been cartoonish. We thought we would get some very simple responses to you. Maybe it's like a boing at the end. But no, you were pointing out the shortcomings of the man whose sails we are meant to blow wind into.
Exactly. And in multiple different areas. So in one, she starts off saying, we hear all the time, there's tons of tests. Everybody's got tests. No, that's not what we're hearing. Governors the Montana governor recently was saying, no, we're going to run out very soon. So that's a very important myth for this doctor to immediately bust. But then also to try to get people to be realistic about what these new advances in tests are going to be able to accomplish in a very short time. That there are some that might be faster, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can process an infinite number simultaneously. And then to put it in the context of, how we compare to South Korea in this, that sure, they are a smaller country. We should acknowledge that. Although let's also acknowledge that Seoul does not have 38 million people, as Trump said earlier this week, but that they have been far more successful in no small part because they didn't drag their heels and they took it seriously from the very beginning. Whereas here in America, we still have states that are not on lockdown. There's not going to be any sort of federal lockdown, even though Dr. Fauci today said that he thinks there should be. I think that that's more likely to result in him no longer being brought onto the news than it does a national lockdown being instituted by Donald Trump.
It's just that the short-sightedness of everyone in the Trump administration is they don't want to create an instant lockdown so that it ruins the economy in very obvious ways. But after that, they don't realize that they're slowing the rate at which we are we are allowing this to grow, so it grows faster and faster, which will lead to an eventual total lockdown, which will then cripple the economy after a longer time of dragging your feet. So rather than just do it fast, do it effectively, and do it in a way where you have to have faith that people will understand you're acting in their best interests, even though it is kind of a tougher in the short term thing to endure.
Yeah.
Instead, they end up leading to the same total lockdown, which will happen down the road, which will end up having created a longer window during which we're kind of ruining the economy because we have to.
Yeah. And unnecessarily losing more lives along the way. Like 1,000 a day at this point.
Right, but like Tucker yesterday was talking about going back to Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor of wherever it was, and when he did that, he went back and said, "Listen, we should have done this a completely different way. It is mean for people to go after folks like that," and he's just being a douche.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I saw someone in the comments just said, it's great that Fox was willing to air that. Well, they aired him there.
They can't.
We'll see if they have him on again.
It would be amazing. It'd be amazing if they just put up like technical difficulties with like someone in a broom, like some kind of bossa nova going on in the background.
I mean, they basically did as close as they could. By the way, that doctor, Rishi Desai, he said as of yesterday that he believes that he had coronavirus, that he experienced many of the symptoms, including a really bad fever. So just bear that in mind too.
Right, but that's another thing, and they want to have it both ways. They want to say that they want to keep the total infection numbers down, so they're not testing everyone. But they also want to say that it's a much lower mortality rate than anyone gives it credit for. But they can't prove that because they're not testing people.
Exactly.
And they try to have it both ways.
Exactly. And so that was one doctor. We do have another doctor for you. So Nicole Saphier, who I believe I have not always really loved her appearances on Fox News. But anyway, she was on with Fox and Friends. I believe this is this morning. And effectively, the Fox and Friends gang was saying that all these red states that haven't done lockdowns, of course they shouldn't. They want to protect their economy, and it's not that bad there. Well, she popped that inconvenient belief as well.
I don't want the president to have to come out and do a mandatory stay-at-home across the entire nation, but I do implore the governors to take responsibility for their states. They know their citizens, and they know what needs to be done. We still have hotspots in states that are rapidly increasing cases faster than they would expect. Everyone thinks that New York City is the hotspot, and that's the only one that's going to be, but that's not true. Anywhere can be like New York City we're seeing right now. They're just a few weeks behind.
Yep. Yeah, so some of the governors that haven't done it yet, Kay Ivey, the Republican governor in Alabama, she said, "I put down a marker last week affirming that we are not having an order to stay in place. We are not Louisiana. We are not New York State. We are not California. In Missouri, their governor Parson says he was not inclined to make a blanket policy. Well, Louisiana's bad, but Alabama isn't. So, and Missouri says we're not going to make a blanket policy.
Increasing cases too. Yeah, right. I know, and I agree. I agree that each state needs to do what's best for their state. However, you're starting to see those cases increase, and what's happening in Louisiana is going to happen in Alabama too.
What?
Yeah, and he didn't really know what to say to that. He felt like, well, the governors are saying that they're fine right now, and for some reason we're supposed to be against these lockdowns. Like, I don't even think these Fox hosts know why that's the position they're supposed to have, except that Donald Trump doesn't want a national lockdown. So they have to pretend that that's a wise thing to do, even though the experts that they themselves are bringing on, and that's not the first time that she's been on there. They bring her on pretty regularly. She's saying, yes, Bozo, I'm trying to get through to you. It's not as bad right now, but the fact that they're not locking it down is what is going to lead to it being as bad as it is in Louisiana or in these other states. The red states are not immune to this.
And the rate of infection in Alabama, it was reported, is at a higher clip than in California. So when Kay Ivey is proudly claiming that they're not California and New York, specifically claiming they're not California, she kind of wishes, because everything that they're doing is annoying. But that's the theme, man. The theme is people trying to wish things into existence, and that's how religion works, and that's how Trump has played everything since he was born, really. Just using this marketing campaign to accomplish results that are beneficial to him. But you can't market your way out of a virus. You can't change the facts on the ground. You can't change the science behind the climate change to benefit you, but the benefit that they have of the nature of climate change is it's happening at a slow enough clip where they're not affected by it materially. This is just an expedited version of that, where Trump is so anti-science and science doesn't give a crap.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers now that you were bringing up, and look, Louisiana's hard hit. Like, they might pass California today in total numbers of infections. It looks like they're at over 10,000 now.
But that's the stuff. It's like, if we did this quickly, Louisiana had Mardi Gras, right? There's spring break is happening now, and there were reports of people who there were 44, or there was a plane full of folks who went to Mexico and they weren't supposed to, from UT Austin, your alma mater, and one of them, and they weren't supposed to go, and then when they came back, they
got coronavirus.
100 of them got coronavirus, and a lot of them are apologetic, but it's tough. It's tough to be the Chicken Little saying, like, listen, the world is on fire. You need to do something about it. When you're right. I saw someone tweeted an amazing little thing. It's like, every disaster movie starts with the government ignoring a scientist.
Exactly. It usually doesn't end that well. Okay, so let's see. James Partney says, happy birthday, Johnny Pie. Thank you. Rich says, do yourself a favor, see Peak Prosperity on YouTube. Extremely informative. It's not actually my birthday. It's just a thing on the chat. Then pay it forward. Watch Dr. John Campbell on YouTube. Best medical information, then pay it forward. Thank you, Rich. I'm not familiar with that individual, but I appreciate the suggestion. Maya says, I know everyone loves having Francesca or Emma on the damage report, but Brett is still my favorite.
You're right. And honestly, Emma on her Instagram, like, posted a photo of me and her drinking, like she's obsessed with me. Like, why are you so obsessed with me, Emma? You're fine.
God.
We have some fun when we hang out, but like, I can't hang out with you right now.
She's
First of all, coronavirus. Second of all, you're in New York. Yes, I'm drunk now, but like, we're not drinking together.
Be drunk, but far
I literally have a beer on my desk. It's not from today, but
yeah. Oh God. I just have multiple coffee mugs, including my mega-sized mug. But anyway,
I have a aged poorly, talking liberal. I mean, I just, like, not aged, but like, my wife got me this. It's it's a duck that you goose because you put things up it.
Oh my God. Rich, thank you for your super chat. And name withheld says scarves, your only hope. Yeah, a lot of tutorials on how to make your own masks. Let's see. Madeline says the Oregonian reported Amon Bundy family is ready to take up arms to protect the right to not follow stay-home order. They want the right to spread it.
Your whole thing is about staying on your compound, dinguses.
They set up a compound. Now they're being asked to use it for a bit, and they're like, well, no, you can't make us. We want to go, and we want to live in society. A society we've rejected.
John, let's do, we got to do a documentary about this later, about the people who are buying, like, 2 million guns got bought. It's like the biggest spike since Sandy Hook, which is depressing. And then coronavirus, and then all the industries that are trying to grab for giveaways, like Mitch McConnell got into the most recent bonus package. I think I mentioned this last week on the show, like a fast track for selling Kentucky-made sunscreen is in the corona. And so I want to do a documentary with you called Guns, Germs, and Stealing.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Corruption in a time of pandemic. Okay, with that, why don't we go on to the next story? The nation and most of the people in it rightfully focused on the pandemic, but while that's going on, the government is making moves behind the scenes in other areas, and they're pretty important. For instance, if you care about the environment, the EPA has announced a freeze on enforcing environmental regulations due to the coronavirus pandemic. The EPA says it does, quote, not expect to seek penalties for violations of routine compliance monitoring, integrity testing, sampling, scientific blah, blah, blah. And all of that, where the EPA agrees that COVID-19 was the cause of the non-compliance. And so, Brett, effectively, they're mostly just going to sort of let things go as long as it has some sort of tie to coronavirus. Now, really fast, the issue with that is that factories, power plants, and other major polluters have tremendous discretion in deciding whether or not they think the coronavirus will prevent them from meeting legal requirements on air and water pollution and hazardous waste management. The EPA will not be fining companies for violating certain requirements on limiting pollution during this time. So if you are polluting, and if you think it's related to coronavirus, or if you can make the case that it's related to coronavirus, and if that case is convincing to the EPA under Donald Trump, then why would you not do that? Obviously, you're going to try to do that.
The same way that Rudy Giuliani was made fun of for saying something 9/11. I believe it was a episode of Family Guy where someone really realized that they could just get points in a debate. I think it was the wife. She could get points in debate by saying 9/11. That's what's happening now. Everybody's saying like something coronavirus, and that's why I can't enforce my environmental standards. It's like, what? Aren't these just settings on that you set? Yeah. Isn't this just like, instead of dumping it in the river, you do the thing that we've forced you to do through good regulations? That's what everybody's doing in this point. And like I said before, Mitch McConnell trying to get allowances so he could sell Kentucky sunscreen and at a fast track approval pace. Like, why? Because coronavirus, do you feel the need to do this? It's because they just have always wanted to, and there's a distraction. There's some kind of impetus. And the most frustrating thing about it is the one thing we should be advocating for in this situation is Medicare for all, because that's the one solution that would actually alleviate a lot of the fallout, the second and third level removed disaster of people losing their jobs, is to have universal health care. This is the time to do that, but everyone gets mad at you for some reason when you point out those specifics, and in the meantime they're like, oh, I guess EPA can't enforce these restrictions because coronavirus. I don't know, not that big a deal. Let's just keep it going and move on.
Yeah, and you brought up some great examples of how specific it can become, like with Kentucky. So we have a bit more of that. Hours after the EPA announcement, the U.S. Department of Agriculture confirmed a waiver allowing a private company to take over inspection duties at a Tyson Foods beef slaughterhouse. By Friday morning, news broke that the administration was close to finalizing its plan to roll back Obama-era rules raising fuel economy standards on new vehicles, resuming a fight that delighted the oil industry, divided automakers, and revealed a double standard on states' rights as the White House sought to bring California to its knees. And by midday, the administration published a final review of a proposed 211-mile road that would cut through a portion of Alaska's Gates of the Arctic National Park and Preserve and open up an area rich in copper, zinc, and other minerals. So just
what does this have to do with coronavirus?
Nothing.
It has absolutely nothing to do with coronavirus. I mean, the oil companies are meeting with Trump. Why? To get a handout. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. It's like, now is a time when people have other things to deal with, and they're making all these changes. This is the black swan moment. This always happens. It's like, when you look at giant changes that happen to industries, it sadly usually boils back down to something like this: gridlock, or someone takes advantage of some kind of administrative loophole and changes things forever. But in this situation, is there any way that we can stop Trump from rolling back fuel standards? Like, what? And the Tyson chicken example, it's not like because of coronavirus no one's going in there to check the beef. It's just they gave it to a private company. The same way that they've been rolling back inspections of food quality. They're like, here's now a time to do it. I'm just going to say coronavirus, see if anybody notices. Yeah. We have to notice. I just don't know what anyone can do right now. And they know that.
I hope that private company is as rigorous in evaluating Tyson Foods as the government would be. No, of course it's not going to be. We all understand that. Yeah, so what we're seeing is, in all of these examples that you've given, that I'm given, it is that in these times of emergency, people without power and resources suffer, and those who were already well off will make far more money under these situations. Like, the senators are going to be making tons of money. Like, more came out about Kelly Loeffler today. Steve Mnuchin is going to be literally handing out billions and billions and billions of dollars, and he will definitely be using the information he has based on that to be personally profiting, and anyone he chooses to will personally profit. Corporations are going to be handed money, and regulations are going to be taken off of them. This is a crisis for many people. It is not a crisis for everyone. It is an opportunity for a lot of people. It is like the little finger political philosophy is playing out in real time. That's what we're talking about here.
Chaos is a ladder. And then also, just to put a little bow on that, they can give all this money out to corporations, but if you haven't filed your taxes with auto pay, then it's going to take you 5 months to get $1,200.
It's going to take so long.
Like, oh, we can't do that right now. But in the meantime, yeah, just go ahead and make, I don't know, more polluting cars. And here, Tyson, your inspectors, here's a no bid contract.
Exactly. We had a bunch of super chats. Let me quickly catch up on some of these. Becky gave us a lounging emoji with "How's it going?" Thank you. Rich says, to learn who rules over you, simply find out whom you are not allowed to criticize. The Voltaire quote. I do like that quote. I do think it's used broadly by people who are crazy too, though. Like, Alex Jones will tweet something like that. And so the question always is, when they say who are you allowed to criticize, they basically mean that, like, they get attacked for, some people mean that they get attacked for spreading misinformation or saying crazy things. Like, it's a good quote. Let's not go crazy. Yeah, by the way, if everybody hasn't liked the video already, there's almost 4,000 of you. Let's see some likes, people. Anyway, Susan says, unfortunately,
and ring the bell for notifications.
Also, if you want to know when future streams are, yeah, definitely do that. Unfortunately, I live in AL and I work for the state. I still have to work, and I am more frightened by the day that I will bring something home to my children. KIV, big Trumpian dummy. Yes, all the states that like, if you were lucky enough to have a state, if you're governor and you have a state that has not been hard hit by this yet, wouldn't you like to keep it that way? Dina says, the NRA successfully lobbied the South Dakota legislature to designate gun shops as essential. The governor is calling shelter-in-place herd behavior. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the stores are still open in LA, even. A place where, like, a lot of the country thinks you can't even buy guns. Skatari says, my mom thinks Brett looks like John Krasinski.
I'm angry at John Krasinski right now. Recently, he tweeted... Oh. Yeah, go for it.
Wait, sorry, what's the tweet?
No, his new show that's like, I realized that there's no shows about good news. And I'm like... Meredith was on my show.
Meredith was on your show.
Kate Flannery was on Happy Half Hour. You guys don't talk? Oh, you get Steve Carell. I don't know.
On the first
episode.
I'm
going to tweet him. I'm going to tweet him when I have 25 seconds.
It was the only difference between you two that remained was that he did not host the Happy Half Hour. And that difference has now shrunk. Quentin Gilliam says, capitalism over compassion. We are boned. Yeah, feeling a little bit boned. But... you know what? We're going to give you some good news. You feel a little bit better. You know what? This ain't the John Krasinski show or anything, but we can give you some good news too. We've got the next best thing over which direction? That's basically John Krasinski.
I realize that there's no good news.
Exactly. It was an interesting show. I did enjoy it.
Yours, John. You're my friend, not his.
I know. Why can't he be both? Okay, so with that, why don't we jump to the next story? Lots of people have been saying the show has been too serious, too dark, too depressing. Well, okay, can you maintain that criticism after seeing this?
Those are the self-quarantine residents at a senior center in Wales. And guess what? They're playing the popular Hasbro game. You may remember it, Hungry Hungry Hippos, in real life.
So, as the Today host said, they're playing the Hasbro game. I mean, sort of. But a bunch of seniors in a community housing place like that, like, acting out, like, huge-scale Hungry Hungry Hippos. That just looks like fun even without a pandemic, you know?
Yeah. I can't believe that Chiron didn't say Hungry Hungry Hip Replacement. That's all.
That would be the lower third on the main show. I think they were trying to be more positive.
In the dead of night, couldn't sleep, and so I went on Ivanka Trump's Instagram, John, and saw that. Ivanka Trump was the location that I teased earlier where I first saw this. Was that your guess?
No.
Who did you think it was?
I'm not going to say who I thought it was, but I will say I was worried it might have been, like, if it was, like, Tucker Carlson wanted to show something positive. That would have killed me.
Ivanka
I don't
Trump.
mind it being on Ivanka so much.
Yeah, I'm editing a video currently that I keep giving up on at night, but it's just a nice little tour through Ivanka Trump's Instagram that everybody should watch for.
Mm-hmm.
It is not all hungry hypocrite replacement. It's a lot of terrifying photos of her husband.
Oh,
but yes, that's great. It's great to see people in lockdown inventing new awesome games. I want to meet the person who invented that specific one and just shake their hand while wearing gloves.
You might be able to do that because according to a representative for this facility, the lifestyles team here at Bryn Celine are always coming up with fun and exciting ways to keep the residents entertained. This activity really raised morale in the home and had all of the relatives and team members laughing. It's not impossible that you could maybe get one of those lifestyles team members.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
It's a weird, though. I don't know. I see. That's the difference between like my show and John Krasinski's show is that mine, I can't bring myself to be genuinely happy about certain things. Like there's ridiculous things that I love. This one isn't even that because I just like, why don't they just play Hungry Hippo?
Because this is bigger and more fun.
Because why do people Grandma a hippo? We can make Grandma a hippopotamus. She's like the game piece here.
Man, the host of Happy Half Hour is Buzz Killington today. Why do you sit in your chair and have people push you down a hallway? Why not just close your eyes and imagine it? Because it's fun and bigger things are fun. That's why big chess is so much more fun than little chess, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, thank you, Brinslin.
More fun than little chess.
Exactly. Okay, so Haroom says, why is Cenk Uygur not screaming 25th Amendment now? He might be. He might be. Wander around LA. You might hear him. Optimus says, my wife is an ICU nurse in Kansas. She had to fight to get a patient tested for COVID. While they waited for the results, she wasn't allowed to use any personal protective equipment. But no, according to Fox, there's tests all over the place.
That's all over. That's there too. There's so many just the corporate response. We talk about it all the time, but the corporate response in various industries is so unnerving, so frustrating, and so transparent. Like flight attendants that I've talked to are not, in the run up to this even, are not allowed to wear gloves because they don't want to make flyers nervous. At the same time, they're saying, we're doing everything we can to protect you. They're also running promotions so people will use their frequent flyer miles and get double miles. Like as of the beginning, like March 6th through April 7th, Alaska Airlines was running like a double miles promotion. And there were reports from flight attendants. There are people just getting in the planes and flying to like Fort Lauderdale and back just to ramp up their total everything. And then all these companies trying to get their corporate handout and try to convince people to take non-paid leave because there's a really good unemployment plan. Please leave so that we don't have to dole out the money we're getting to pay employees' salaries. Like that's what's so frustrating about it. Anyways, hippos.
Also hippos. Gina says, what if you were on SSI and or disability? Will they get anything? I mean, we're going to have to see what the follow-up legislation that's coming up soon. I'm imagining that, yes, that will be one of the things it's focused on. Rich says, watch Keep America Beautiful 1979 TV PSA on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to open that in a separate thing for later. A lot of super chats today. Andre says, happy birthday to me. I caught the show live. Andre, happy birthday. Thank you. Everybody, you have an actual valid target for your happy birthdays today. Everyone wish a happy birthday to Andre.
Wait, John, it's your birthday too? Happy birthday.
It is. Kimberly gave me I think it's a hippopotamus.
Hypey hippo.
Thank you. And Strayak says, lighthearted note before the weekend. Resident Evil 3 Remake is out today. Do you play survival horror, John? I loved number 4. I might play 3, although I've heard that 3 is an incredibly stressful game, and right now I am playing the exact opposite of Resident Evil 3, which is Animal Crossing New Horizons, so we'll see. I'm trying to keep it relaxed a bit. Okay, and finally, Luck Dragon says, you don't have game if it's not 3D chess. Exactly, with the Spock hands. And I am wearing a Star Trek
Three-dimensional chess, by the way, is also four-dimensional chess, because you play it over time. I just blew John's mind.
they've been wasting all this advertising opportunity. We've added a whole extra dimension.
And probably 13-dimensional chess string theory.
Probably. Bernie will hold on. Rich says Bernie will die but return tomorrow multiplied 10,000-fold. People die, but ideas live forever. Yeah, and the effect that he's had on American politics. Franklin says as of 9:55 a.m. Thursday, the Wyoming Department of Health is still reporting 137 Wyoming cases. Oh, no, wait. Winter one, Brett, we need your signs. Riggs wants to classify it as essentials. So I think some of that got cut off for length, but Franklin, thank you for that. And with that, we have more positive news. So let's turn to that. 2 positive stories in 1 damage report. Okay. I know things have been dark lately, but I have some good news for you. In fact, 3 pieces of good news, all having to do with dogs. And the first has to do with New York area shortages. And so you've probably heard a lot about the lack of ventilators, the lack of masks and other personal protective equipment. Well, I'm sorry, but I have to report that according to Muddy Paws Rescue and Best Friends Animal Society, they're reporting that shelters they work with are either all out of or almost out of cats and dogs after a surge in applications of as much as 10-fold in the past 2 weeks. According to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, they said its LA office saw a 70% increase in animals going into foster care, and Best Friends said many of the shelters it partners with across the U.S. report the same phenomenon. So they're running out of animals to give you, which is just great news, because what better thing to get you through this than a cat or a dog?
You got to breed them. Let's just start breeding them. That's what we have to do. Supply and demand, capitalism, catpitalism, catpistolism? I don't know.
We need the Defense Production Act to be levied against corgis. I don't know. We need more of them and fast. GE needs to breed pups.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. And if you run out of cats and dogs, you can always start your own tiger zoo. Just watch the documentary Tiger King. It's essentially a how-to on how to create a giant empire of, you're the king of beasts.
Exactly. I haven't seen the end, but it seems like a pretty good business model. It seems
Everything, even though spoiler alert, the first episode tells you how it ends.
I only watched the middle episodes, actually, and the end. I didn't see the beginning. Anyway, there's a little bit of potential bad news to this first bit of good news, though, and that is that rescue organizations worry they'll soon see the opposite problem, a rise in surrendered pets as many Americans lose their jobs. Shelters may be asked to take in more animals than they have room to house. But hopefully these 2 problems might cancel out, and the people who have at least some resources and need some sort of emotional support, stress relief, animals have all these documented things. Maybe we'll do more on that in another video. Could help for people who can no longer care for their animals. But having an animal is definitely a good thing. I advocate for it.
Yeah. Jason Carter got a dog. He told me yesterday. Mm-hmm. And it's adorable and lovable.
I want to see it.
No.
Oh,
sorry, I can't. Okay. I can't betray his trust like that.
Bit of good news number 2 having to do with dogs. That is that there is no evidence that a dog, cat, or any pet can transmit COVID-19. This is according to the WHO. If you are worried, because there are some coronaviruses actually that can affect dogs specifically, and it's not impossible that this one could, but so far there is no documented evidence of that. So while you have to keep yourself safe, at least one less thing to worry about, your animal companion is probably going to be okay during this.
Goes counter to some of the things I was reading today, John, which are cats are particularly susceptible to COVID. So you seem to be pretty much of a dog person and almost a cat genocider.
Well, I mean, according to the WHO, they have no evidence of cats
transmit,
either.
Not contract.
Okay, well, it's a bit of good news. But yes. Do more research. Thank you, Brian.
I would like to say, and now that I brought everyone down,
no, it's not down. It's context. It's important.
I know, but I would just say do some research before you go out there thinking your cat's going to be safe from your bad decisions. Though then again, the cats do eat the people after they die, so I guess it's like 1, 2. My favorite happy story out of all of this, before we go back to adorable pictures of dogs wearing hats, and that's a tease to keep people around, is that in England there is a medical fetish company that sells masks and scrubs and actual medical equipment, and the NHS is under supplied, and so this, I think it's called MedFet UK is actually donating a bunch of the N95 masks from their fetish collection to people at the NHS so that they can be protected from COVID.
That's a good call.
Their skin staplers are still available, and they're selling those because I don't think it's just the like sexy nurse outfit. I think it's people who actually like to get like their skin stapled for the pain of it. Anyways, they are doing nice things, and it's amazing that they are donating from a fetish company.
Exactly. We did a top 10 list, by the way, of people who are helping to make this a little bit easier. Maybe that should have belonged there. Maybe we'll do an updated one.
Broken yet, John. I'm not a psychic.
Okay, well, we'll do a second.
I already gave you the cat thing. I can't keep saving the show.
Okay, no, I need you to. That's what you're here for. But if you can't save it, how about some suggestions for ways to get by these long days of lockdown? You're on social media anyway. Why not follow some dogs? And so here are some suggestions of awesome dog Instagram accounts to follow. One is one that I go to literally every day, and that is the Geronimo Show. It is this little Australian shepherd that is the cutest, most emotive animal ever. Go to the Geronimo Show. Super adorable. Great photography. I love it. I love it so much. Okay. Number 2 is...
I have no comment about that.
This is... Well, what about this? Aspen the Mountain Pup, who is one of the most dignified, classic dogs I've ever seen and knows how to wear a hat. In a time when the answer, if most people ask, should I start wearing hats? Usually the answer is no. But if you're Aspen the Mountain Pup, yes.
Never stop wearing hats.
Always be wearing hats. Number 3, this one is chosen to honor the memory of Sam Shocker, who is alive. She's just not here. That is the account Boop My Nose, which is...
Weird way to say that, John.
She likes to boop things, remember?
But honor the memory.
Because she used to be here and she's not anymore. She's alive. She's doing great.
Don't say anything that after... You just were like a trending Twitter topic there now. You're like, Sam Shocker's trending. And everyone's like, oh my God, why? Is she dead? No, she just had a baby. Little baby Miles.
Yes.
Is doing
also
well
adorable.
There in Colorado.
Anyway, Boop My Nose is an account not of one dog, but of the close-up shots of noses for many dogs. And so, follow that every day. New dog nose. Who doesn't want that? And then Brett seems oddly not interested. I'm basically choosing these because I can imagine these being on Happy Half Hour, especially this one. This is
Stop producing my show and produce your own goddamn show, John.
Dogs in Food are awesome photoshops of dogs being integrated into food products. I love it.
So that's a fetish site.
I don't think you're supposed to get anything out of it in that way. But hey, if it makes it a little bit easier to deal with this isolation, especially if it stretches on, go to Dogs and Food. Go watch some dog
Follow
boots.
Follow HHH on TYT. Alex has been curating quite an amazing amount of great things like this. You just need to go to it. HHH on TYT. Do it now.
Do it
now, and then comment, because I can see the comments, because John and I are sharing the stream on my John's sharing a stream with me, so I need to see that you have confirmed that you followed HHH on TYT.
Exactly. Okay, so a couple super chats. JP Dunphy says, hilarious how it takes 10 million people losing their jobs in 2 weeks, which means they also lost healthcare coverage since it's based on being employed. Yet Bernie's Medicare for all is still, oh no. Yeah, all of this being tied to the one thing that can be taken away from you at any moment is probably a bad call for society. Luis Lamp says, so the moment that Americans get extra quality time, it's amazing what matters for increased quality of life. Yes. I mean, I don't live alone anymore, but when I did, having a dog at that point was great. And that was without all of this added stress. I can only imagine how much harder it would be now. Let's see. And Kurt says, why aren't you vegan? Breeding, using, and confining animals caused all these pandemics, swine flu, H1N1, SARS, C19, every single one in history. Derp, I don't necessarily know that it has caused every pandemic in history, but I do think there are a lot of benefits to people going vegan, and so, Kurt, I do appreciate your super chat there.
Not sure people were breeding rats during the plague days.
You never know. Cujo says, Grumpy Brett needs to hug that John pillow behind. That's not a pillow of me.
That's Gucci Mane.
Yeah.
And this is a Dwight You Ignorant Slut pillow given to us by John Iadarola.
It's an office thing.
No,
do
John
people in
just
the chat
likes...
really think that Brett has a pillow of me?
It's amazing that they thought that everyone would say Nelly because of the Band-Aid or something on their face, but
okay,
or the ice cream cone thinking it's a Band-Aid, but no.
Yeah,
that's Gucci Mane.
There's nothing of each other in our bedrooms. Just want to be clear about that.
I think I have things you gave us in the bedroom,
but not our face. Anyway,
no, on the above my bed is a
straight down
giant photo of John going.
It's not even a good photo. Like you could have picked a different photo. That's all I'm saying. You know what, Brett? We're running low on time, and I don't even know if that's stuck. It's Friday, Brett. You know what that makes this? What time it is?
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna make sure I play the right one. Oh, okay. I'm ready. It's Friday. That means it's time to take out the trash. This is Garbage People. Okay, Brett. You, I don't think, have a can, but I have a can. Okay? So, we have both selected people that we believe exemplify being garbage this week. And we didn't decide who was going to go first. So why don't you go first this time?
Oh, I see your rundown, Trey. Okay, so my garbage person is... Kenneth Copeland, evangelist extraordinaire. You've got to love Dr. Kenneth Copeland. I think he calls himself Dr. Kenneth Copeland because it's a made-up doctorate he has in nothingness. I really should thank him because he declared coronavirus dead. We have a small clip of it. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to that clip. Okay, that's playing
not
again.
That clip.
Shut it.
God, I love when other people make mistakes.
I left it when I went to the other scene. You're gonna end up in the trash. You be nice.
You will destroy through COVID-19. No more!
No more. No more.
No more. Is finished.
Finished.
It is over.
It's beginning to draw up and shrivel and disintegrate.
Yes. At exactly 12 noon on the 29th day of March. You will destroy through COVID-19. No more!
No more.
Oh my God. So yeah, the audio was a little bit low there, but I love that they've pinpointed the time of death for it, that they've described how it died. It shriveled up and then disintegrated.
It's so ridiculous, but like that, but I was gonna say that that's a great feat, but then I thought about it for a second and realized that is absolute nonsense.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. All these folks, it's like the central premise of
shucks.
Oh God,
I'm gonna get you.
Did you lose me?
Hold. I'm gonna get you. Oh, okay. Hold on a second, Brett. You're not there, right?
This is thoroughly your fault.
Okay, this is 100% my fault. But you know what? With the power,
it's your fault for using the TYT.
I gotcha.
Thing.
Okay, I got you. Sorry. Resume.
Got to text
It'll be fixed
the
later.
other team not to use the thing.
I accidentally bumped something. Anyway, continue.
Oh, really? Okay, good. So here is, they all are trying to say that all the evangelists are trying to say, listen, don't listen to scientists. You need to listen to me. I will protect you through faith against coronavirus, instead of having people like wash their hands. There was another guy who said like Purell is for pansies in Europe who are evangelicals in Europe and ministers who are saying you should wash your hands and cancel services. There was another guy who planned an Easter Woodstock type blowout of people coming together. But it's like, it just reminds me of the old joke where it's like, there's a guy, he's drowning and he's like, oh, God will save me. And then like a log floats by. He's like, no, God will save me. A boat comes by. No, God will save me. Like a helicopter comes down to pick him up. No, God will save me. And then he dies and goes to heaven. And he says, God, why did you let me drown? And God's like, what are you talking about? I sent you a log, a boat, and a helicopter. And that's what all these people are doing. And it's another one of those like quicksand type events where you want to struggle with it. You want to think it through. You want to communicate to these people and like engage them. But the more you do, the more you realize you've already lost. Like, people need to follow the advice of scientists. You can still love the Lord and wash your hands.
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't give us Purell, who did? That would be my question. Intelligent design of hand sanitizer.
Well, a bunch of distilleries are now making hand sanitizers, so they're giving us hand sanitizer.
I guess Tito's gave us hand sanitizer, perhaps. Okay, that was a great garbage person. I have another. I want to quickly say, and I was bringing up my notes for garbage people. That's what broke the entire thing. So I did consider a lot of different people. There were a lot of suggestions. Many people said either Whoopi Goldberg specifically or the women of The View for this week. And I would have chosen that, but we talked about it at length yesterday with Benjamin Dixon, so it just, I don't want to do the same thing. There were other people who were definitely asking for it. Jared Kushner yesterday I thought was the worst, but I'm going to have to go with this individual. So this is Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia, is going to go in the trash so that I can put this down because it's unmanageable. This is actually a suggestion from candidate Nabila Islam, who's a friend of the show, and so I want to show you why he deserves that position in the trash. So take a little listen to this and realize that this was in the last 48 hours.
What we've been telling people from directives from the CDC for weeks now, that if you start feeling bad, stay home. Those individuals could have been infecting people before they ever felt bad. Well, we didn't know that until the last 24 hours, and as Dr. Toomey told me, she goes, this is a game changer for us.
I'm really kind of stunned by what he said, because we've known that for quite some time, haven't we?
Anderson, this is inexcusable. I mean, it's just inexcusable.
Yeah. So he said, we've just found out about it. No. I mean, I read an article from January. New coronavirus can cause infections with no symptoms and sicken otherwise healthy people, studies show. He just found out about it yesterday. He's in charge of the statewide response to it, and he doesn't have the sort of knowledge that, like Sanjay Gupta was saying, his kid knows about it.
Yeah, it's these people are in charge of the country. This guy ran on a platform not too dissimilar from all the things he's doing wrong. Like, this is a guy who's like, I got a truck so I can round up illegals. I got a gun so I can. And this is a guy who, in one of his commercials when he was running against Stacey Abrams, had a shotgun across his lap, pointed at a 12-year-old, at a 16-year-old kid, saying, "Don't hunt my daughters, or I'll hunt you." And it is that kind of proud defiance of rational thought and any kind of intellectual curiosity that, unfortunately, is your responsibility, buddy, when you're the governor of an entire state. People put their faith in you, but that is wildly bad decision.
Yeah, I imagine how much better off the people would be if Stacey Abrams had not had the election likely stolen from her back in 2018. Like, because
he was the Secretary of the State at the time.
Exactly.
Got rid of a lot of votes.
Exactly. Everyone, take a look at our videos from the time. Savita says this segment should be the whole show. I mean, it kind of is, honestly. We don't always take up the trash can, but it generally is what the show's about. Yeah, I mean, look, he's in charge, and he's like, is he even being honest there? Did he find out about it yesterday? He doesn't have a doctor who's talking to him. Like, I don't even know that I believe that at this point.
It's a bad way to BS. It's not believable BS.
Yeah, the combination of dishonesty and just ignorance when people's lives are on the line. Like, it's so frustrating that these people were given power, and that the people who voted for them either thought that they would be a good choice if it came to some sort of emergency, or didn't think about the likely cost of these people holding positions of authority. But that guy he's too stupid to have power. You can't put it any other way.
Yep. It's very, very frustrating. Like, the one thing you could possibly deny is when people, like, I've seen people when they're sick, the thing you know about that is that people are contagious before they show symptoms. And maybe later they say, I'm no longer contagious, but they still look sick. Like, maybe that, but still, man, this is an admission of failure. Unfortunately, there's like this weird thing people have where if someone comes forward and says, like, listen, I just didn't know, but I'm saying this to your face that I didn't know, and so we're now making adjustments. There is this instinct that's like, all right, I can't be mad anymore. But no, you should still be mad. He is a failure, and he killed people.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're watching this, go to the channel and you know, my last interview with Nabila Islam, like, she was talking at that time. One of the topics we talked about was how Georgia was failing in its response, that really nothing was being done. And when we were filming that, apparently Kemp was sitting in the governor's mansion just thinking, well, I got this locked down. I don't need to learn anything new about it. Like, we just got to make sure that people who aren't like their skin isn't dripping off their bones, those are the only people that can really transmit it. We should be safe at this point. Like, the response was driven by either an unwillingness to, you know, make Trump look bad by taking it seriously. He hates that. That's why he probably pushed for that captain to lose his job. And a complete lack of knowledge about it. We're surrounded by idiots, and we give them power. Okay, Brett, thank you so much. You had an awesome Garbage People as always.
Thank you.
There were a few.
Too.
Thank you. That's very nice of you. Always glad to have you on. I don't think that I'm on the main show today, but
no, you're not, John. Just Wednesdays. But everyone catch John Iadarola every Wednesday on the main show, Young Turks, until we re-expand it to 2 hours. And sometimes when John's on, we'll end up going 2 hours because the post game takes so long. Because John and Anna are just buds. You know what I mean? They talk, buds. They vamp. It's a really great relationship. It's not as stilted and fake like mine and John's is.
Yeah.
You can tell we never talk to each other or hang out.
We don't. Me and Anna, we're just hoping to someday be besties the way you and Emma are. That's basically all we want.
Drinking. But I will say, if you want to get that full extended amount of time, become a member, tyt.com/join, or since this is John's show, tyt.com/Anna.
I had such high hopes.
/John. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Bye, Brett.
Bye.
Thank you. You're the best. Okay, so everybody, I just want to catch up on the super chats before we call it a day. Rich says, see how they run. Paul Taylor, extra credit, a short history of capitalism's rise and fall. Will Hutton. Thank you for the recommendations, by the way. I and I think even more importantly, everyone else can always use them. Richard also said, excellent reads. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, Love and Will, Rollo May, Guns, Germs, and Steel, which we alluded to earlier today. 1984 and Democracy Matters, Cornell West. So we got a mixture of Orwell, West, and Huxley and a number of others. Thank you for those. Brooke says, work in hospital in Massachusetts, behavioral health. A patient sit for hours in ER prior to mental health facilities, few protections. Hospitals are not disclosing cases of COVID for liability reasons. It's been super scary. Every day it gets scarier. Liza says, tuna melts my heart, and Sage and Harlow, Instadogs. Oh, thank you for more Instadog recommendations. Nathan says, does Brett have John's face on a pillow behind him? I assure you that he does not. I've asked him to get rid of that pillow multiple times. And Rich says, for fun, Network, award-winning movie. That's true. V for Vendetta. Bernie Sanders, Portland Rally. Yeah, that's always fun. Joy Reid interview of Gwenda Blair. That one I'm actually not familiar with. I'm familiar with all the others. And, you know, I do occasionally watch the Bernie Sanders video. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for this slightly supersized edition of the Damage Report Lockdown Edition. By the way, if you didn't already see, we had videos out yesterday from both Ryan Grimm and Benjamin Dixon, but also Ken Klippenstein joined me. That video is up on the channel right now, and it has to do with, you know, a document that was leaked to Ken of what the Army knew and was predicting about what coronavirus could do to this country, a report that was apparently entirely ignored. So go look at that video on the channel right now. Ken has done some great work there. Luck Dragon says Picard's series is far better than I was expecting. I'm going to talk about that more in the future. I did just finish it. I was very excited about it as well. And so thank you, everybody. I'm going to be interviewing another congressional candidate today. That will be up on the channel a little bit later on. But other than that, thank you for joining me today and throughout the week. You know, stay safe. We'll see you on Monday.